Welcome to a preview of one of our virtual classes. We have many classes covering all of the Microsoft Office programs. Today's demonstration will be in Excel 2010. When you attend one of our online classes, we provide a manual as well as one or more practice files. Our manuals are an average of 40 pages long and make great reference tools for you after the class is over. We also record each class and make the recording available for review for a full 5 business days after the class is over. Each full class is 90 minutes in length, but I will be teaching you one topic today for this demonstration, which you will be seeing on your screen the same way you will see it as a student during a full 90-minute class. This topic is from our Excel 2010 Functions and Formulas 90-minute workout. I will be showing you the difference between relative and absolute cell references and formulas, which is discussed on pages 16 and 17 of the class manual. I will explain a feature and demonstrate it in a practice file during the class. Then, in an actual class, I would give you time to practice the feature in your own copy of the practice file as I walk you through the steps and answer any questions that you have. I will not do the practice time, however, for this demonstration. I will share my Excel screen with you, and this will display in a new window on your computer in a moment. So what you should be seeing now is my copy of Excel 2010, and I will do the demonstration here in just a moment. Now, during any class, you can ask me questions at any time over the audio conference, which you will have joined using a telephone or a computer headset. Now, in the case of having a computer headset that doesn't actually have a microphone, or just if you want to ask a question confidentially and not over the actual audio conference, if you look at the top of the screen, there's this green bar that says Viewing Elert Instructors Applications. If you point at that, a toolbar pops down and the chat feature is there and available. If I click that, it brings up a chat window, and what I could do as a student is type a message into the text box below and hit send, and the instructor will always receive that message and then respond to it during the class. You could even position this on the screen, say in the lower right, where it's out of your way, and you can use it at any time during the class. If it's still in your way though and takes up screen space, you can always close it, but at any time you want to ask a question, you can just point back up at that toolbar, it pops down, and you could click the chat window again. And whenever you move off of that toolbar, it pops back up and stays out of the way. So what I'll do now is this demonstration of relative versus absolute cell references. So I'm going to click in this quarter 1 cell, and as we've done up to this point, we've done several functions and formulas, including using the AutoSum function to add. So that's what I'm going to do here. In cell E5, on the Home tab, I'm going to come over to Editing and click the AutoSum button. And that will drop in a sum of the numbers to the left, and all I have to do is hit enter. And now I've got that quarter 1 total for cell phone. Now, of course, I'll want to do the same thing for the next 4 cells, so what I'll do is click on the quarter 1 number, and again, as we've done before in other exercises, point at the fill handle, where I get that little black plus sign in the lower right corner of the cell, and drag down. Excel will automatically copy the formula to all of the rows I've dragged through. And here's the thing, it changes the formula according. So when you look at the original formula, it came out as the sum of B5 through D5, but copied as B6 through D6, B7 through D7, B8 through D8, and B9 through D9. That is relative cell referencing. It means it changes the cell references in the formula relative to where I copied them, moving down rows if I've copied it down, changing the columns to be the columns across if I copy across. And so far that's been exactly what we wanted. It enables us to create a formula once and reuse it down rows or across columns without having to recreate it over and over again. Now what we're going to see though is there are times when that relative cell referencing does not do what we want. So here I've got this reimbursement I'm going to calculate against this total mileage. These are mileage numbers, and the quarter 1 column has sums of those mileage numbers, so that's a total. And I need to take that sum and multiply it by this reimbursement rate in cell F14. So without thinking about what's going to happen when I fill it, I'll do it like we would probably normally do. I'll click in reimbursement, and I'll type in the formula equals E17 times F14. And I hit enter, and that looks good. There's the reimbursement for Smith. I'm going to fill that down so that I don't have to recreate it manually for the next 4, as we did earlier, and it doesn't work so well this time. So what happened here? Well, I'm going to double click this cell. That actually pops the formula up there so we don't have to go up to my formula bar. And look what happened. E18, the relative reference, that's good. That's actually the correct quarter 1 total, times F15, which is an empty cell. So when I hit enter, that's actually a 0 result. Here's an actual error message. Excel doesn't even know what we're trying to do with this formula, so I'll double click it, and it's E19, which is the correct number, times the word reimbursement. You can't, multiply numbers by text, so of course Excel doesn't get that. Here's a gigantic number. If we double click, I think you can see what's happening here. E20 is the correct quarter one number, but F17 is definitely not the correct reimbursement rate. And then finally, one more coming out as 0. If I double click, E21, correct quarter one total, times F18, another cell that has 0. So because of the relative cell referencing, not only did the quarter one number reference in E17 move down when we copied the formula, so did the reimbursement rate. And we need a way to tell Excel, the reimbursement rate, that's an F14 for every one of these formulas. We didn't want it to change, and we still want the convenience, though, of being able to use the fill handle and not have to create a separate formula for each row, especially if instead of just 5 rows, we had 500 rows. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select these and delete them, and here's the way I would have done it. Using what is called an absolute cell reference, we're going to make F14 absolute so that when we do use the fill handle to copy the formula, F14 stays F14 for all 5 formulas. So here's how I'm going to type it. I'm going to type the equal sign, E17, that was always correct, times $F, $14. And those dollar signs are the symbol Microsoft chose for us to communicate to Excel, leave that reference absolute. I'm going to hit enter. The first one, of course, was correct, the other time too, but I'm going to fill this down now, and you'll see much nicer behavior. So if I take the second one, the first copied formula, and double click, we've got E18, the relative reference did move down, times F14, the absolute reference stayed the same. And that's going to be true of each of these. I'll just show you one more. I'll double click this one, E19, relative, it changed, so it's the correct quarter one number. F14 is still F14, and that'll be true of these two as well. So that's the benefit of being able to use an absolute reference. You can still have something that's fixed in the formula and still have the benefit of being able to copy it down using the autofill handle. So are there any questions?
Danielle, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why do you need 2 dollar signs there instead of just 1?
That's a really good question. And let me just go ahead and pop up the first formula I created here so we can look at it. The dollar sign is both before the column and the row because you actually could make what is called a mixed reference. That's a part of the class. We won't do it in this demonstration. But a mixed reference would have only the column or only the row fixed where the other part could change. Usually you use a mixed reference if you're going to copy the formula in both directions, both down and across. Because keep in mind, if we copy it down, the row reference changes. If we copy it across, the column reference changes, and in some cases you want only one of those two parts of the reference to change. So if I just had, let's say, a dollar sign, let me click there again, a dollar sign just before the F column reference would stay fixed, but 14 could become 15, 16, 17. If I had a dollar sign just before the 14, then 14 would remain 14 filling down, but the F could change to GHI, etc. What I've done has fixed it completely. Neither the column nor the row will change. That's a fully absolute reference. But again, the reason I use those 2 dollar signs is to do that. There are the possibility of using just $1 sign to fix just a part of the reference. And again, we look at that in the class, but won't do it here for the demo. That's a good question. Any other questions? I'll just hit enter here. All right, well, let me go ahead then and take my screen down as I would at the end of a normal class. Now, you will have another opportunity to work with the concepts that you learned about during class when you try out the practice exercise at the end of the manual. You can also watch the recording and try out the class topics again along with it. And as I mentioned earlier, that class recording is available for 5 business days following the class. There are also many classes for each program. Here's a list of additional Excel 2010 classes that you might take after this one. Thank you for watching our demonstration. To register for this class or others, or to see information about each 90-minute workout class, including outlines of the topics covered, please visit our website at www.ellertraining.com. Thank you.